No doubt you have 100 different speakers in your store right now in your soundboard and in your inventory. But how much of it is factory application specific? Well, Powerbass has come up with an entire line of OE direct fit speakers that not only represents a solution, but quite possibly a whole new business model. Today, we've got product expert ERIK HARBOUR in the studio with us, and we're going to talk a little bit about this very unique OE direct line that Powerbass has to offer and what that could mean for your business, along with a couple brand new applications that you need to learn about. This is CMA Connected, presented by SiriusXM, all about Powerbass, and it starts now. What's going on, guys, and welcome to another CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. And on the menu is OEM integration, and that is a big term for many different things. We've talked about getting a signal, we've talked about integrating amplifiers and all this type of stuff. But what about your speakers? Yes, Powerbass has come to the table with a whole suite of product dedicated for OE direct fit application. And as the years have continued, this catalog has expanded so much. In fact, we're going to be talking about some brand new applications. Well, to help me with that, we of course reached out to Powerbass, and their vice president, Mr. ERIK HARBOUR, is going to be joining us today. Now, ERIK, this is a very unique category. We're going to dive in. What can we expect to talk about on today's show?
Today, we're going to dive into the Powerbass OE Direct Fit series. There's a lot of fitments, and I'm going to show you a lot of new things. I'm going to show you what kind of goes into creating the OE Direct Fit. Believe me, it's a lot of work, but it's a labor of love to make sure that it's an easy plug-and-play application for almost every model in that series. So we make it so you stock less SKUs, but can fit more cars. And also, you can get cars in the bay and out quickly by giving them quality sound that's going to fit right in the direct OE fitment.
All right, ERIK, ready to dive in with you. But first, a quick message from our partner, SiriusXM, reminding you dealers out there why you should love it. And when we come back, we're talking OE Direct Fit with ERIK HARBOUR from Powerbass.
Hey guys, Ricky Lima here from SiriusXM. I had a chance to speak to some dealers and ask them what they love about selling SiriusXM. Here's what they had to say.
Coast-to-coast coverage.
I love SiriusXM for commercial-free music.
It's a great add-on sale and a profit opportunity.
We love selling SiriusXM because you can listen to the same channel coast to coast.
Profitability and ease of installation. It's a no-brainer.
We love selling SiriusXM for its ease of installation, great profitability, and reliability.
People love it.
All right, welcome back to the show. We're talking Powerbass, and more specifically, we're talking about OE Direct Fit. But what does this mean? Well, ERIK, let's explain to those tuning in when Powerbass refers to OE Direct Fit. What does that mean, and what can dealers expect when ordering one of these kits?
Well, Ben, we try to think about everything. While looking at the OE Direct Fit, we think about our days as installers. And we think about some of the struggles that you might come into when you're doing a fitment. There's a lot of things that come into play. One, the terminal. The year model of the vehicle, did they change terminals? The tweeter, sometimes we find the tweeter is 2 or 3 different versions of that tweeter. How can we make that into one? Our goal is not to load the dealer up with a lot of different SKUs to make the fitment work. Our goal is to make kits that fit multiple years in one package. Now, the downside of this is vehicles change. So when there's a body style change, we immediately go to the SEMA garage and we do fitments. We start to look at things to figure out how things are going to change for the upcoming year model. Sometimes they remain the same, and then sometimes they change. And so we have to be very proactive. The advantage that Powerbass has over the most is that we are our own factory. So we're able to do a lot of things that others just simply can't take the time or effort to do, because we can begin to tool very quickly. We can begin to spool up production very fast. And before you know it, we have a solution for maybe that body style change in 23 or 24 or beyond. When things start to change a bit, we're able to react to that. So we find ourselves chasing our tails, if you will, when it comes to that body style change and other updates. But we try to make sure that we've thought about everything. We think about things like the plugs. There's a lot of plugs in one box, right? We think about the fact that maybe you need to actually have the OE adapter plug in there. So we give you that as well. We think about things of the fact that the tweeter might have two different housings. So we've come up with ways to adapt for that. We've also thought about, and we're the only company doing this, is a dual terminal design so that you have old and new model plugs on the same speaker. So we've made it so you stock less and can sell more. Therefore, it makes you a little bit more profitable because you're not having to stock a lot of things that you're not moving often. The other advantage of OE Direct Fit is that we're able to give you great sound in the factory placement, but it also sounds better if you amplify it. So let's think about this from the traditional car audio standpoint. When a customer walks in, they've got a blown speaker. The first thing you're going to do is work on replacing that speaker because that's why they walked in your door. So if you replace that with a Powerbass OE Direct Fit, you now started to give them the basis of where you're going to grow. Because the next thing is, well, I want bass. And then they're going to add subs, and that's going to happen. And they're going to come back to you because you did such an excellent job putting in that OE Direct Fit. Next thing is they're going to say, well, the bass is starting to drown everything out. So then is when you scramble sometimes and you say, well, wait a minute, I've got to put new speakers in the doors if I'm going to amplify these. But the cool thing about the Powerbass OE Direct Fit is you don't have to do that. You can then amplify them, and the sound really comes alive at that point. So I like to say that the OE Direct Fit series is a solution and a starting point to a really great sounding audio system that's going to look great, fit in the stock location. It's easy to install, and everyone loves the sound when it's all said and done. So let's get into it. Let's start talking about some of the Direct Fit series from Powerbass.
And get into it we will, Eric, starting with our very first case study. We have a couple that we want to go through, but I figure we start at one that is undeniably, probably, and I'm guessing here, the most popular platform, and that is for General Motors.
That's right, Ben. The GM Direct Fit is one of our most popular kits. And they're great vehicles, and everyone has this problem because for some reason, water runs down that door, and next thing you know, those front speakers are ruined. So we've thought about how to get past that. No more paper cones. We're bringing that poly cone replacement in a coaxial, 6.5, a component, 6.5. We also do the component 6x9 and coaxial 6x9. And we do something special that most people forget. We always replace that door speaker. So we've got the 6x9, we've got that handled. But what about the dash? And if you have a Suburban, what about the rear pillars? Well, we've got that solution as well. And the 2.75 high bandwidth piece, it's going to go on the dash and the rear pillars of like your Suburbans, Tahoes, things of that nature. So with the 6x9 kit, you have it all. The 6x9 and the 2.75. So this takes care of the newer model GM vehicles. Now, the neat thing is we've thought about the fact that you're going to clip that in right here. We've also enabled it so you can add a screw if you'd like, because what happens is there is a little bit of rattle that happens. It's just the way that door panel is built. So you can add that in there on the sides here to tighten that in there a little bit better if you'd like. This is going to bolt right in, and you're going to see that it has the clip that pops right into the factory location. Now, in the 6x9, there was no reason to make this into a dual terminal because this was only one plug. They only started doing this in the newer models. The older models didn't really have that older style plug, so we didn't do this in the dual. So again, we think about those things. Now, we do this in a 4 ohm and a 2 ohm. So it makes sure that it fits in both traditional or Bose GM products. Now, the 2.75 is going to be the same fitment in both. Now, we thought about that as well with the terminal. The difference is the Bose had a different key on the terminal and the plug, and so we realized that, and we made the terminal work for both. So this will work in Bose or the standard 4 ohm set. We also realized that there was no difference in impedance, and we did curves, lots of curves. That's one of the things that makes OE work for us is that we sit and listen. And I tell people this a lot. Here at Powerbass, we spend hours listening to things. OE. Listening to the stock speakers, as horrible as they generally sound, and listening to ours and running curves constantly as we're starting to make adjustments and updates so that we can be sure that you're actually getting an improved sound quality once you put in the Powerbass OE Direct Fit. Now, here's where things start to get a little critical. When we put in the coaxial, that's great. This works really great in like the work trucks and things that just had nothing to begin with. This is a great fit. It's going to bring up that high frequency. It's going to make everything sound wonderful. Now, we do have some guys that have the 6.5 component that actually put this in the front, and that really brightens things up. So that's an option as well. And as I said, It is the dual terminal design, so you have the late model and the early model plug. So you only have to stock the one SKU to take care of a number of year models of GM vehicles. But when it gets really tricky is when we get into the component. So the component 6.5 is going to pop right in just like that 6x9, and we've added the holes so that you can make that in there a little bit tighter. It is going to have that dual terminal design, as I mentioned. We're the only person doing this as of now. And I think it's a great way to ensure that you know it's going to fit. Now, in the box, you're going to get this. You're going to get your tweeters. You're going to get some factory plugs just in case you needed them. Not that you do, but maybe you do. And then we're also going to give you all of these. Look at all of these adapters. This is something that makes GM a little bit more complicated and a little bit more special. We have thought about all of the different years. We've adapted from older to newer. There's a male and female version of an older one. We've gone through and figured out what all of those fitments are, and we've gone in and tooled our own plugs to make sure that you, the installer, have exactly what you need. So it's really, really nice and easy and simple. You'll take the desired plug that you need. You'll have our tweeter that comes with it, and you're just going to plug that in, and then you're good to go. It's going to plug right in. Now, what we find, and like I said in the beginning, is chasing that update as they do a body style change. We've also found that there's some production runs that have a few variations, and it's kind of hard to keep up with some of those weird variations, but we try to do as much as we can. And we learned recently that, there's a terminal change that's going to happen in just a few models, but we still made the adapter. So now we thought about that. We found the problem. We've made the adapter. We've gone out and tooled the piece that we needed. And here we have it. Again, an advantage of being our own factory is that we could react very quickly to the need for this adapter. So this adapter is going to come in and make it so that you can now plug in that tweeter on some models. I believe it's about 2 models, and it's a very limited production run that needs this, but at least we thought about it for you, and we make sure you have that in the box. Now we also have tweeter adapters. So in GM, it's unique because they use different tweeters from late model to early. And so it's coming in the box with this tweeter, which is basically your new GM tweeter. But then some guys say, well, I have the old GM that kind of looks like this, or I have the dash piece where the tweeter goes that looks like this, either Bose or not. And well, this isn't going to fit. Right, we understand that. So you're going to pop the top of this off. You're going to put this top on, and then you'll notice that this now fits into the cavity just like the OE would, and you're good to go. So we made it so that the tweeter can now be convertible to fit multiple year models. So we're thinking about everything when it comes to this installation, and we're also always improving and upgrading our different accessories that come in the box. With the GM kits, you've got 4 ohm, you've got 2 ohm, you've got plugs for everything you could possibly need. And when we start to find other adapters and differences come along down the pipe, we're easily going to make that and catch up to what needs to be done. So hopefully you've learned a little bit about the GM OE Direct Fit, and the next GM that rolls into your shop, you immediately think, I got the solution. I can take care of the dash. I can take care of the rear pillars. I've got the door speakers. I've got it all handled, and I'm only stocking 4 SKUs to take care of almost every vehicle, GM, Cadillac, Chevy, all of those with 4 SKUs. And it's going to be in and out in no time. The hardest part is taking the door panel off. And believe me, sometimes that can be a little complicated. But once that door panel's off, you pop this speaker in, you're going to get great sound. You're going to pull it back around. The customer's going to love you. And you've just started that new relationship where you're going to start to upgrade them more with even more Powerbass gear. So hopefully that's everything you've ever wanted to know about the Powerbass OE Direct Fit GM series.
You know, Eric, I have to take a moment and give credit where credit is due. The fact that Powerbass includes all the variety of different adapters and tweeter plates and all that stuff into one kit certainly makes it an easier item to stock for retailers. So we do appreciate that for sure. And, you know, with the multitude of different scenarios, it sounds like Powerbass has got it covered. And even if you didn't, pretty sure any new transitions or any new changes, you'll be on that in a jiffy. All right, so let's move on to our next category or next platform that is incredibly popular that we see in all our bays right now, and that is, of course, Ford. So what is the solution as far as OE Direct Fit for Ford vehicles?
That's right, Ben. We generally think about everything when it comes to OE. And the next set that I'm going to talk about is Ford. And Ford is a very popular model here with the F-150, the F-250. I mean, who hasn't owned a Ford at some time in their life, right? So we made sure that we thought about that as well. And we're going to do that in the coaxial model, the component 6.5, the component 6x9, and we also do the 6x9 in a coaxial as well. And we're going to give you just the same thing as we had with GM, but with Ford, it's a little easier. The advantage of Ford is they didn't get too crazy with a lot of different adapters. They don't have 100 different names for the same thing. So they've made it a little easier for us. So we were able to go in and make that coaxial, just a nice coaxial piece that's going to pop in and plug right in. We're able to make the component in a set that plugs right in, has very minor adapters and just a few little things to make it work, because generally it's always going to be the same. So the Ford tweeter is very simple. There is a screw on the back that can screw straight into the mounting tab that comes into the Ford. There sometimes is an elongated piece that we're going to throw that in the box as well for you, that you just screw the tweeter right in. But it also has the tab so that you can push it in and lock it into place. So we've made that pretty simple as well. You'll just select the tweeter adapter, which there's only a couple in the box, and you go. You're ready to roll. It pops in. It's ready to go. Now, the other thing is that we've thought about the fact that the 6x9 sometimes is going to be mounted this way. Sometimes it's this way, and sometimes it's even upside down, and I think sometimes it's mounted in the back somewhere. Who knows? So we've thought about the fact that you're going to have that 4-pin plug right here, and we thought about that. So we've given you an adapter so that if you needed to, if this was on the opposite side, you're going to be able to actually plug into the old school terminals here using this adapter, and it's going to go right into the Ford plug. So we've thought about everything. We've again thought about the fact that, well, wait a minute, in this door panel, it's actually upside down, or it's completely the opposite direction. So we're going to give you the adapter so that you can make that easy enough to plug it right in, and you're going to plug this into the speaker. So again, it's back to thinking about things and thinking about how they go into the car from an installer standpoint. We know that things are different. Different door panels are built a little bit differently in different models. But again, the cool thing with Ford is they stayed very consistent. So the component set is going to be a very easy install. It's one of our bigger sellers in the Ford series. And one thing that we've learned, and I'm going to give you a tech tip here, right here live, CMA Network's tech tip, hot off the presses, something that we have learned, is that with the Ford, you'll notice this is a 4-pin plug, which it's always been in that piece. But Ford traditionally only used regular single voice coil drivers in the doors. We have found that there are some 6x9 applications, normally going to be in the Explorer body and a few other pieces, that have a DVC 6x9 in the front. So if you get that, guys, and you get that coming into your bay, and there's a DVC piece, you'll notice at the factory, this isn't it, but the factory is going to have 4 wires in that plug, in that factory plug. So if you look at this, you'll see that these go to the outer pins. And when you go into our speaker, the speaker actually is internally connected into all of them. So when you plug in, it's going to work even if it was on the outside or the inside. However, because we do see that variation. However, if it's the DVC, what you're actually doing is shorting out that speaker, because all 4 of those wires are connected and live at that point. So all you need to do is pull the center 2 wires out and clip them from the factory, and then everything will work fine. That's one thing that there's no real good way to adapt for. And if I just made the DVC, you'd sell it once a year, and it's just not worth your stockroom space. So the answer is, with that one, you do have to cut a couple wires. And I know that we like to say no wires to cut, no holes to drill, direct fit OE. In that application, we have found that there is a couple wires from the factory that need to be snipped. So again, we come up with these things and these solutions when there's a random piece or something that's very rare in the direct fit. And that's one of the hardest things for us to keep up with. So I do ask all of our dealers, all of our distributors across the globe, if you see something a little different, or you see something new coming into your region, because let's be honest, these manufacturers make changes based on region as well. So if you start to see things popping up that are not in that kit, please contact us. Reach out to myself or reach out to Dave and let us know. Get us some photos, get us some data, because the more information we have, the better we can make these kits and the more updates we can do for you down the line. And the packages will update. The model numbers won't change. We'll just start to add in the new pieces or add in the new adapters that you might need along the way. And eventually we'll have kits that are going to go for years and years for you. and it's going to be an easy thing in your stock room to have in stock 4 models that's going to fit all kind of Ford fitments. And that's pretty much everything you need to know about the Ford OE Direct Fit from Powerbass.
So we've covered so far 2 juggernauts as far as the amount of vehicles that are coming into your shop, of course, with GM and Ford. And this third one is no slouch. I mean, this represents a lot of vehicles out there, guys, that are coming in. And these are some really easy solutions. We're talking, of course, about Toyota. So what is the breakout of the offering when it comes to replacing Toyota speakers?
That's right, Ben. Toyota is a great fitment. It was actually one of the first ones we did in the OE Direct Fit. So we learned a lot through the process of working on this. And I think the cool thing with Toyota is it really does fit a lot more than just the Toyota name badge. So as you know, we got the 6.5 as we're doing in most everything. We do that in component and coaxial, and the 6x9, which we do in component and coaxial. And in the Toyota, we found that the frequency response of the tweeter was very high. It was a really nice high frequency response. So we decided to go with something that could mimic that and actually do better. And that's our goal, is to give you as good and better sound than you would have got from the factory until you amplify it. And then things really wake up. So we went with a titanium tweeter in the Toyota. This is the only one in the Direct Fit series with titanium in the tweeter. And that really, really brightens that frequency up in the front and brings that tweeter frequency right out in your face. When you amplify these, man, they come alive, and it gets a little bright, but it's a fun thing because some customers enjoy that, and this does it right away by just waking it up a little bit with the amplifier. So with the Toyota, it's a very easy kit. So it's going to have the tweeter in the 6.5 and the 6x9 component. You're going to grab a couple of different adapters to decide what fits. The Toyota piece kind of pops in and spins and locks in place. We also have an adapter bracket that you build around that piece to mount into the dash. There's a video on the Powerbass garage at powerbassusa.com where you can see us doing a full Toyota install, so you can see how all of these accessories and adapters go into play. Now, the other thing neat about the Toyota is that we thought about a piece that is hit or miss. Sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't. It's the Scion. So when you think about door speaker kits that you're buying, so you're going to have to sell the customer a 6.5 speaker. You're going to have to sell them an adapter. You're probably going to sell them a harness, or you're going to cut it and do all that fun stuff. So the neat thing with the OE Direct Fit is that we've done all that for you. We've thought about it. We've molded it into the factory plastic. We've made it work and fit wherever you need it. But some people look at this and go, well, what are these weird ears for? I've never seen that line up. Well, that means you've never worked on a Scion. So these ears are here to fit on the Scion, and these are breakaway tabs. So you'll just score it a little bit and pop them off if you don't need them. Just like any other kit that you would buy to fit that dash or the door, same way. You're just going to score that off, pop it off, and then you're good to go. And most of the times you can leave it on as well. So this is a great kit that's going to fit a lot of different pieces. And of course, the 6x9 is the same way. You'll notice that there's a lot of different holes. There's a lot of different mounting options, a lot of different keys to line up with a lot of different vehicles. And that's the fun part about OE, is trying to figure out how to make one speaker fit a ton of different models and a ton of different variations. And the Toyota was where we really started to learn how deep we needed to dig into the OE. And the Toyota has been a staple piece in the OE Direct Fit series from Powerbass.
Our next category, Eric, is one that I was quite surprised to see in the catalog. We do see some other factory fitment options when it comes to these popular platforms, like we've just discussed with General Motors and Ford and even Toyota. But when it comes to Nissan, this is a pretty unique one that you dealers need to know about.
That's right, Ben. Nissan is a great fitment as well. While it's not the Ford or the GM of the world, Nissan is a very big fitment, and we figured we needed to get into that next. And if you're like me, Nissan was actually my second car, and I've had a lot of different Nissans through the years. So I'm very familiar with the brand itself. And so while we started thinking about what's next, we're always looking for the next future thing in OE Direct Fit. Nissan was a very easy decision because, as I said before, we're our own factory, and we actually do a lot of OE work with Nissan. And with that, we found that Nissan China had a lot of the same plugs and adapters that Nissan USA used. So we were able to get that into production very quickly because we were already using and building some of those parts to begin with. So we had a good base to start with. Now we've done a lot of the homework. We're doing the Nissan in the 6.5 coaxial, and we're doing the Nissan in the 6.5 component set. Now, if you've got a 300ZX like I had back in the day, that's going to have that triangle speaker in the door because it's going to have Bose, and it's going to have that weird thing that you're going to try to shove a 6.5 in. Don't do it. We've got the OE 400, which I don't have to show you here, but it's definitely on our website at powerbassusa.com. It's the OE 400 that's going to fit in the Nissan 300ZXs. It has that weird triangle-shaped Bose piece. But let's dive into your standard everyday Nissan, and let's talk about some of that. Now, the neat thing with Nissan, again, is that it's a very easy fitment. The tweeter, you're going to see this, resembles something you just saw earlier. So oddly enough, Ford and Nissan tweeters are very similar. So we were able to kind of follow that pattern because they need to bolt into the back, which is going to happen in some applications, or they need to pop into place. So we've enabled that with the Nissan by copying what we had already done with Ford and then just modifying a few minor things along the way. With Nissan, you're going to have your tweeter adapters and everything's going to plug and play like it should. Again, we're going to give you that factory harness that maybe you need, maybe you don't, but it's in the box just in case. We've thought about it for you. And then if you've got the Maxima or the Ultima that's got the 2.75-inch speaker in the front dash, we've thought about that as well. So we're giving you this piece, this adapter. And you'll notice that it's scored here on the back. So you're going to be able to score it again and pop this off so that if you have the wider basket, we've got the fitment for that. If you have the skinnier basket, we have the fitment for that. And so they say, well, how am I going to make this work? Well, it's simple. There's 2 tabs here on the tweeter, and there's 2 tabs here on the adapter plate. So you're going to put the wire through, line them up, pop the tweeter in place, and give it a little spin. Now you have a tweeter plate that's going to go on the dash and is going to adapt just like you need it for that Nissan or that Maxima, that Ultima or that Maxima dash. So again, we thought about everything. We've thought about all your fitments. And then some guys are going to say, well, wait a minute, there's a Maxima with a 6x9 in the back and it's a thin mount. You just showed me 6.5s. Well, stay tuned for a little bit later in the show. I'm going to show you something really cool coming soon for that fitment as well. And that's pretty much Nissan in a nutshell from Powerbass OE Direct Fit.
All right, now a fun one for you guys who've been staying with us up until now. Some new applications coming down the pipe from Powerbass in the OE Direct Fit category. This is going to be a big one, guys. We're talking about Chrysler and Jeep. Imagine. So, Eric, give us the deets on what's going on with the new application for Chrysler and Jeep vehicles.
Absolutely, Ben. We're super excited to let you know that the Chrysler and Jeep OE Direct series from Powerbass is going to be in stock late November and start shipping out to everyone. Now, one of the most popular vehicles out is the Jeep. We see a lot of Jeeps everywhere, and they're all over the world. So we wanted to do something for Jeep, but then we didn't want to leave the Chrysler people out as well. So we thought, let's make a kit that does it for everything. And what I've been saying every time is that we start to think about what you need so that you stock less SKUs but can cover more vehicles from the same manufacturer. So we're doing a 6.5-inch coaxial in the Chrysler and Jeep fit. We're doing a 6.5 component in the Chrysler and Jeep fit. This is going to fit in your Chryslers. This is also going to fit up in the sound bar in the Jeeps. And you'll notice again, this, if I'd like to call it just this patented just style from Powerbass, because we're really the ones that figured this out. You can do dual terminals on here and you can then just decide which plug goes in. It's either going to be the standard Chrysler fit or the standard Jeep plug. Pretty easy. If it fits, pop it in there and go. You don't have to worry about stocking multiple SKUs to fit Chrysler or a Jeep product. We've got it all right here in the same box. Now, in the component set, you're going to get the tweeter that's going to work in your Chrysler fitments. This is a snap-in type tweeter. And what we found is that most all of them are going to have the same terminal, which is going to be like this. It's just going to be this little square box style terminal. But then again, we know sometimes things are different. And in Chrysler, you're going to find that Chrysler has some older plugs, but they also use that older plugs in some Jeeps. So we've made some adapters so that you plug right into that standard harness that most of them have. And now you're going to have the older adapter here on the end. This comes in the box ready to roll. We've also found that the Chrysler piece is going to have that 2.75. This goes in Jeep and some Chrysler fitments. So all you're going to do is take that tweeter. You're going to pop that right into the panel. And now you're going to have that 2.75 dual ear type piece with a tweeter adapter. And then you're going to take that plug that we gave you here, and it's going to plug right into the back, just like that. And you're going to have the adapter to plug straight in. So again, plug and play design that we've thought about. Now, the other neat thing is the Mickey ears. That's what I like to call them, at least. In the Jeep, they all have, well, not all, but some models have the Mickey ear, or they have the tweeter in the dash. But if they have the Mickey ears on the dash, We thought about that too. So this is straight out of a Jeep. This is just the factory OE plastic that you're going to have in there. You're going to pop out the grill piece from the factory. Takes a little bit of twisting and turning. We're going to pop that piece out. You're then going to find your tweeter, and you're then going to line the key up so that it slides right into place and locks right in to the adapter. And you heard it click, right? So now you've got our tweeter in the factory grill. You're then going to go back to your Mickey ear, and you're going to line that back up. At least I say you're going to line it back up. And we're going to pop that piece right back in place if I can get it lined up. There we go. I did it. There we go. Pop that right into place, and there you go. Now you have your Mickey ear tweeter location handled. And if you need the adapter, of course, we've got the adapter too that's going to plug that in. So again, the component set or the coaxial set is going to work in Chrysler and Jeep. It can work up in the sound bar. It can work with your dash speakers in your Jeep. It's going to work in your door speakers in your Chrysler 300s and such. Now, the other thing is that while we're here and we're talking about new stuff, I'm going to do something that we've never done before. Only because I like you, Ben. I'm going to show you the back end of how we do some of our OE direct fit. So with this, Ram, or Dodge Trucks as you'll have it, decided to go about their own and make it the Ram. Well, the Ram has got this weird thin mount 6x9 that if you put a nice 6x9 in, well, the window isn't going to roll down. Or the door panel is going to be a little hard to get on. Next thing you know, you're cutting wood and you're making all these things to just make a 6x9 fit. So you said, well, Eric, there's no 6x9 kit in Nissan. Well, that's correct, because we found that the 6x9 is generally just a steel basket. So here's our new piece right here, just a nice steel basket, right? This is it. Pretty neat, huh? I'm kidding. So we start with this. We realize that it's a steel basket 6x9. It's very standard. It's going to bolt right in just like normal. There was no real reason to get into this crazy molding basket type thing when this would pop in place. But most people haven't thought about this. So the neat thing is, again, us being our own factory, here we go again. We've now whipped out a nice 6x9 that's going to fit in that same area. You're going to see that, you know, they're the same height. There we go. I'm kind of lining it up best I can here on the screen and keep myself in there. So we thought about that fitment that's going to go in that Dodge door, or Ram door, if you will. Now, this is a pre-production piece. This is something that we're in sampling. We're doing some listening tests, and I normally don't like to show it this raw, but it's almost done. We're at that point now where I'm pretty much just missing the final touches, the stickers and some of the things like that. But you're probably looking at this and saying, well, there's 2 terminals on there. Well, right, because this also is going to work with Nissan. So this is a Chrysler and Nissan 6x9 thin mount that's on the back, already going to have your Chrysler and your Nissan plugs, so that if you've got a Nissan, plug it in. You got the Chrysler or the Ram, plug it in. This one piece is going to take care of both of those. As I talked about it earlier, the Maxima with the 6x9, this thin mount steel basket, or the Ram truck that has the 6x9 in the door that you can never really find the right fit. We've got it for you. It's going to sound amazing. We'll have this out in the market early next year. We're just finishing up a few final things. And the future of OE with Powerbass is pretty bright. We're working on OE stuff every day. We're looking to expand the line even deeper. We're working on things like Honda, BMW. We do have a Volkswagen T5 for our European friends. It's going to bolt right into place. And I've got a Tesla kit coming soon. That Tesla kit is in final stages of listening and fitment. So you're going to see that very early next year. That's going to replace the 8-inch in the door as well as the 2.75 to 3-inch in the dash, which you're going to have 3 of those in the Model 3. You're also going to have them in the door, and you're going to have 2 different tweeters in that Tesla. So we're going to take care of everything from the front to the back in the Model 3 and the Model Y. All of that's coming soon because we never stop working on OE around here. And we're looking to build the largest and most complete OE direct fit series we can with all the solutions you need, doing all of the thinking for you so that it's an easy install, plug and play, and your customers are happy using Powerbass OE direct fit speakers.
And that was Powerbass Vice President ERIK HARBOUR joining us and giving us all the details, and then some, giving us some sneak peek of some new product being developed that's coming down the pipe in this OE direct fit line. Now, if any of the products on this show happen to interest you, I do implore you to check out the official website that we'll put on the screen right now at Powerbass USA. Now, if you happen to be a Canadian dealer tuning in, then you need to know that the exclusive distributor for Powerbass in Canada is in fact Importel. On that note, I reached out to our good friend, the 12-volt Viking himself, Mr. Jaron Gelmalon, to get his perspective on what type of business this represents for Canadian dealers. Jaron, this is an incredible line. And let's be honest, in this space, there's not a whole lot of players, but Powerbass has made the commitment. What does this mean for dealers as an opportunity?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a huge opportunity for dealers. There's many different types of customers out there, and not every customer is going to want to book into your shop to get an install done. Well, these type of applications is going to make it easier for you to do the install yourself. It's all good, also going to be great for the DIY guy that wants to maybe do the speaker install himself and doesn't want to build plates or get into that complication of soldering wires. This makes it straightforward for them, and you can sell it over the counter and make some extra money. And it goes to show how Powerbass has really thought about the dealer and the installer and not just made different SKUs for every applications. I'm sure Powerbass could have made 40 different SKUs for all the different applications, but they thought about the installer and the dealer. And they'd rather add $2 to this kit than you stocking another kit in your store. Just goes to show that they're really thinking about you, the dealer, and the customer in the end.
You know, Jaron, I can't help but think that there is a hidden business model here for many of the dealers out there, that especially if you already have relationships with your local dealerships. Yes, I'm talking about you guys out there that are already doing remote starter business. Imagine offering your dealers sound upgrade packages that don't cut into factory wires, that aren't going to hurt the bank when it comes to the install time. What do you think, Jaron, of this type of model moving forward when it comes to OE Direct Fit?
Yeah, it's a huge opportunity for expediters that are already in dealerships doing, like you said, remote starter installs. They could put a set of speakers in without much tools. They don't need a wood shop to build panels or anything. Or it could be sold directly to the dealership. I'm sure techs can take off door panels and put speakers in. It's the same as OEM. If they can do that for the OEM, they can install the Powerbass speakers as well. And it's going to give that dealership an upgrade opportunity. Maybe a customer doesn't want to go for the full high trim level vehicle that has the amplified system on it, but they want something slightly better. So it kind of bridges that trim gap opportunity to give a better audio system in the vehicle and upgrade the customer without having to go to the next package up that potentially could cost a lot more money. So I think it's a great for everyone involved. Good upgrade all around.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my two guests today, both ERIK HARBOUR from Powerbass as well as Jaron Gelmalon from Importel. And in my closing comments, OE Direct Fit is not what it used to be. I remember when this category was just starting up, and there were the naysayers. Who wants to have all the plastic? The whole point of our business is to do custom installs and whatnot. Now, take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. Of course, I love custom fab. Of course, I love getting into the CNC and seeing the artistry when it comes to getting some amazing sound into vehicles. But look at the business model that presents itself when it comes to being able to factory replace these speakers. The customer will be happy because they're getting a better sound experience. The install time is incredibly impacted, and the sheer amount of expertise that you may need from your shop to get these speakers in, well, that's another item to look at when it comes to profitability. OE Direct Fit from Powerbass absolutely presents an incredible opportunity in so many different facets. In fact, I would be willing to gauge that there are customers that come in that when you mention that you can install specific speakers that have been engineered for their vehicle, they would be hot to trot on that. So the next time you're taking a look at this, take a look at the offering. Take a look at the details and engineering that Powerbass has put into these kits and what they include in the box. And I think you'll see that there might just be an opportunity right there under your nose. That's it for this CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.
There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM with over 150 channels in your vehicle. Your Platinum Plan offer includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels and enjoy favorite shows with SiriusXM Video on Demand. What you love is on now.